Hi everybody, this is Mr. Ahmed with a new lesson about comma. Comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a short pause. Uses of comma. There are many uses of comma, but I'm going to teach you the most important uses of comma. Use 1. We usually use comma to separate a list of items. For example, please buy me mangoes, oranges, pears, and bananas. As you can see in the first sentence, we use comma here. We also use comma here and here. Please buy me mangoes, comma, oranges, comma, berries, and bananas. Using comma before and, some people use comma before and, some people do not use. There is no rule for using a comma before and. The next sentence, books, pens, pencils, and paper are called stationery. We use here comma to separate between each two items. For example, books and pens. Between these two items, we use comma. Pencils and paper are called stationery. And as I told you earlier, you can use to join and for the last two items, or you can add comma. The second use of comma is to separate when you have two or more adjectives in your sentence. For example, she was young, beautiful, kind, and intelligent. Now in this sentence, we have three different qualities of the same person. Instead of using these adjective words without commas, you need comma to separate between each two adjectives to make the meaning clear. Second, the house we visited was dark, dreary, and run down. In the same way, we use here comma to separate between the two first items. We also use comma here and coordinating conjunction and to connect the two adjectives, dreary, and run down. The third usage of the comma, we also use the comma to separate between 2 to 3 action verbs in a sentence. When you have several action verbs in a sentence, you need commas to separate between action verbs. For example, I live in Chikchigayar. Muhammad ran towards me. Okay. Muhammad ran towards me, fell, yelled, and fainted. Now we have got 3 different action verbs in this sentence which need to be joined with commas. For example, the action verb fell and the action verb yelled should be joined by the use of comma.
Do you say join it or separate it?
So it's to separate or to join. Both are used to separate and fainted. The second sentence, the boy leapt, spun, twisted, and dove into the water. Now in this sentence, the comma separates the items. For example, here it separates these two actions, left and span. In the second place, it separates between span and twisted. In the third position, it separates the verb twisted and dove. Well, the first usage of comma is to separate two or more geographical locations if one is within the other. For example, when talking about the address where you will live, the state, the neighborhood, the city, and the state, you need commas to separate between the district, comma, the city, comma, etc. For example, I live in Çiftçigeir. Çiftçigeir is the neighborhood that you live, that's the district. Hargeisa is the city. Therefore, you need a comma to separate between the district and the city, or the neighborhood and the city. You also need another comma to separate between the city and the country. The second example, the plane landed in Lusaka, Zambia. Now the comma in this sentence separates a city and a country. The fifth way that we use comma is to separate the day of the month from the year in dates. But bear in mind that dates are written in two different ways. When you have the date and the year at the end, you need a comma to separate between the day and the year. For example, 21st, 2018. Now,
2020.
yes,
We will go out to that.
yes,
Already.
yeah. Now, you have December 21st. This is the day. Therefore, you need a comma to separate the day from the year. But if you write the other way around, and you put the day first and the year at the end, you do not need comma in this case. For example, we will go to London on the 21st of December 2018. In this case, we do not need comma because the month came between the day and the year. And if we use comma after words such as yes, no, well. For example, yes, I will come to see you. We use here comma after this word yes. We use comma. We also use comma after the word no. For example, no, I will not listen to your lies anymore. We also use comma after the word well. Well, I guess you have to talk to Jamal first. Okay, now, chi. We also use comma to separate two noun phrases that refer to the same person, place, or thing. For example, Karema, the physics teacher, was a kind woman. Now, we use comma to separate the person's name with the physics teacher and Karema are the same person now. For example, I can say Ahmed, comma, our English teacher, comma, is explaining a lesson now. The comma is used to separate the phrase from the main clause. Now, time for exercise. You use comma where necessary in each of the following sentences. I'm going to give you some time after that, about 20 seconds for each question. After that, I'm going to give you the right answer. Now the sentence is run on. There are no any punctuation marks. It's you who is to use commas where necessary. 1. I like reading books on birds, reptiles, insects, and mammals. Now you have 20 seconds to consider where to use commas. Okay, you are right. I like reading. We put one comma here. I like reading, comma. I like reading books on birds. You put comma here. Between birds and reptiles, there are 2 items. The third item, insect, you need another comma here. You also need a comma here, but here it's optional. In American English, they use commas before coordinating conjunctions, such as and, for, etc. But in British English, they do not use comma before coordinating conjunctions if the comma is not joining 2 sentences with the coordinating conjunction. The second one, we live in Wadachir Gabili. Now you have 20 seconds to consider where to put the comma. Well, since Wadachir is a geographical location within a bigger location or a bigger geographical location, you have to separate the district from the city or the neighborhood from the city and use comma here. You put a comma here. In the third sentence, Ali, the politician, is a wise man. Now you have 20 seconds to consider the right answer. Well, since we have got a noun phrase here qualifying the noun Ali, we have to put a comma between Ali and the noun phrase that refers to Ali himself. We also should use another comma after the noun phrase. Look at this. Ali, comma, you need one comma here. The politician is the noun phrase that refers to Ali, and you need another comma after the noun phrase. Ali, comma, the politician, comma, is a wise man. Well, the first sentence, Nim'o was a patient student. You have 20 seconds to consider this. Okay. If you look at this sentence, it has no items, many items to separate or to use commas. It has no noun phrase. It has no 2 or more adjectives. So we do not need any comma here. This sentence has no adjective, 2 or 3 adjectives. This sentence has no 2 or 3 action verbs. This sentence has no noun phrase in it. Therefore, it's not necessary to use comma in this sentence. We leave it as it is. Come to the 5th one. I write, brand, and sell books. You have 20 seconds to work on this sentence. Well, in this sentence, we have 3 action verbs. You need to use commas between action verbs. For example, you need one here to separate these 2 action verbs. Here, it's optional, you can use comma here or you can leave without comma here. I write, print, and sell books. And that's the end of our lesson today. Okay, thank you for watching my video lesson. I'm Ahmed, saying you goodbye till next time.